All right, we should be going. All right, so here's an overview of what we're going to talk about today. Just to begin, what is MorphoSource for people that aren't really very familiar with it? We'll briefly talk about why to deposit your data in MorphoSource, although you maybe saw that there's a second webinar that we'll be giving on Friday, and that webinar it's more aimed towards people that are interested in depositing their data, and we'll go a little bit more into that then. We'll go through finding and viewing content, how to save and download data if you're interested in that, some future development that we've got plans for, and then lastly, we'll go over some resources just to if people want to explore a little bit more. So to start off with, what is MorphoSource? MorphoSource is a digital repository service where researchers, museum curators, and the general public can find, download, and upload 3D, 2D, and AV media representing objects of academic or scholarly interest, mostly physical, but also born digital creations. The important thing, I guess, is that it's a 3D repository, and we really focus on digital surrogates for objects that can be found in the real world. So a lot of natural history collections, but also digital collections from museums and cultural heritage institutions. Our mission is to maximize the value of museum objects to society, and we do that by making them accessible to the public. MorphoSource is available for anybody to go and look at and register, download content. So that's our main and first focus. Secondly, we support museums, researchers, and facilities that are interested in curating their data through us. We want them to be able to collaborate, share their data with others, but also preserve it for the long term. And then the third part is maximizing transparency of data and research. So a little bit of history is that MorphoSource has been around since 2013. In 2018, we partnered with the Duke University Libraries and had a big grant from the NSF, and we were able to redevelop the application using an open source application called Hyrax. 2021 was when we launched MorphoSource 2.0, and currently we're still headquartered at Duke University. Right now we're in the evolutionary anthropology department, but we continue to be supported by Duke and then also by additional grants from the National Science Foundation. We have 5 staff members on our team. Doug Boyer is the founder and MorphoSource director. Julie Winchester is our technical director. Mackenzie Shepard is our data curator. And then we have 2 developers, Simon Choi and me. And I think there's several of us that are on the webinar today, so they'll be helping to answer questions and clarify points. A little bit about the technology that MorphoSource is built on. We use Hyrax, which is an open source repository application. It's used for institutional repositories and digital collections a lot. It's developed and supported by a pretty big community of museums and libraries. And has built-in support for IIIF, which was really important to us. And that's the International Image Interoperability Framework. These are the main data types that you can find in MorphoSource. So we have 3D meshes and point clouds. We have image stacks. So those would be collections of images that can then be processed to create 3D objects. So right there you can see it's supposed to represent a collection of photogrammetry images and then some CT scans. But we also have just plain images and videos that are uploaded to the site as well. And I won't go through all of these, but you can see that we have quite a few modalities that are allowed in MorphoSource. So if you've got it, we can probably support it. To go along with that, we also support all of these file formats. You'll notice that we really concentrate on or open source rather than proprietary formats just for long-term preservation. And a few statistics. So right now we have 207,000 media files that have been uploaded so far, and that means we've got 132 terabytes of data. They represent 73,000 objects, and most of those are natural history collections, but we're really hoping to bump up the cultural heritage representation in the near future. We have 23,000 registered users, and those are users that have created an account on the site and have um, able to download media. Um, 2,300 contributor users, and those are the users that are actually uploading media to the site or managing media. Um, and that the media comes from 1,500 organizations from 80 countries. A little bit about the volume of views we get. So you can see the views per quarter for the last couple of years. This is since we launched the new application, where we average around 90,000 media record views per quarter. You can see we had a big spike in 2024 there that or end of 2023, early 2024, and we think that was related to a specific project on the site. But generally, we're around 90,000 views. And then for downloads, we have about 30,000 downloads per quarter. We've had 625,000 total downloads, and that's been done by 14,000 unique users. You can see that we've had a pretty big spike of downloads that occurred right around when the pandemic was getting kicked off. And then, so I wanted to talk a little bit more about the different categories of users we have on the site. So anonymous users, anybody can go to MorphoSource and look for media and view media in the viewer and do that. Uh, if you want to download media, you're going to have to create an account on the site. When you register, we ask that you provide a little bit of demographic data um, about yourself, and that's just so that when you do download media, the users that contributed that can get a little bit of information about how their data is being used. So once you create an account, you can download media. If you know someone that contributed private data and they want to share it with you, they can share it with you. And we also let you create media lists, which is just a way to curate kind of your favorite media records. The last category is contributor users, and those are the ones that have to apply for access to upload to the site. And it's the way that we kind of curate a little bit like who the kind of data that is uploaded to MorphoSource. So those users can upload media, they can create projects. If they're affiliated with an organization, they can manage an organization um, and the organization's collections. And so just a little bit more about like the users that we have on the site. These are the self-identified categories that those people fit into. These are users can select multiple, so these will overlap a little bit, but with a brief look at the list, you can see that it's a lot of mostly researchers, faculty, and students, and a few um, museum and library workers. Uh, Next slide here is combines everything into a bar graph. You can see that when you combine researcher and student and faculty, that it's really the students that kind of outpace everybody on the site. This is how our data model works on the site. Media records are really probably the centerpiece and ones that people are going to be interacting with a lot. But the other kind of records that we have are there to provide context and more information about those media records. Um, so organization will be associated with the objects that it's managing, any devices that it's using to image collections. The imaging event itself is the time that the object was imaged by a particular device to create a particular media. And then the media records represent each instance of a file. So to go skip ahead one more, I guess this kind of shows you how we would have multiple media records on the site, all associated with the same object. The initial media record is uploaded, and it's when an object is imaged to create a bunch of photos for photogrammetry, for instance. Those photos may be processed to um, crop them or compress them, and then those photos are used to create the mesh media in that third object there. So all three of these could be uploaded to MorphoSource. They would be associated with each other. They would be associated with the image that, or with, sorry, with the object that they were created from, and kind of see the chain of how things are created. But you're not required to upload everything. So if you just want to upload the processed photos, or maybe you just have a mesh that you want to upload, you're not required to upload any of the raw data. So like I mentioned, we'll be going into this a little bit more in depth on Friday, but why would someone want to deposit in MorphoSource? So MorphoSource really has an academic research focus, as opposed to some other sites that you could upload to. Everything on the site is represents a real world object, and is managed by an organization or has been put there by a researcher. We're specialized for 3D data. So the site is really built around being able to access and view 3D objects effectively. We use a lot of standards-based metadata in order to give context and description to those files, and we follow the same standards that other repositories and libraries use to describe that media. We have a lot of collaboration tools. So if you're someone that's working in an organization and you have multiple people that are managing some media collections, you can all collaborate, have access to those media, and work together. We have IIIF implementation, so it makes our records interoperable with other IIIF records and other repositories. We provide access controls. So if you're someone that needs to keep your media private for a little while, or if you want to provide it for download, but you really are kind of concerned about the way that your media is going to be used, we have tools that allow you to manage that. And then the last thing is usage data. I mentioned how when you sign up for an account, we ask that you provide a little bit of information about yourself. And that's so that if you're someone that uploads data to the site, you can get that information and see how the impact of your collections, how they're being used. And that's really useful information for organizations to have. So I just wanted to pause for just a second. The next part is a demo where I'll show the site off a little bit. Did anybody have any questions at this point? Looks like not any yet. So I'm gonna move on. So this will be the front page of the site here. Um, so here's MorphoSource with our little interactive skull. Um, Most people that are going to the site will probably be searching for media first. So the search bar up here lets you decide which kind of thing you want to search for first. It's already selected media, so we'll go to media. And clicking there will show you everything that's available on the site. You'll notice that the number 167, or 167,000, I should say, there is a little lower than what I said the total media on the site were earlier, and that's because I'm signed in as just a new registered user, and I don't have access to media that people have uploaded to be private. But I'm going to search for a vase because I'm into vases. And that brings up a few results. I'm going to narrow it down by media type here because I just want to look at meshes for now. So that's even better. You can use these other facets to drill down even further and get more specific in what you're looking at, but 6 objects is a pretty good number here. So we'll take a look at this vase. And that brings up the individual media record. Before I get into the media record too much, I'm going to show a couple of the other related records that you might want to look at to understand this record itself. It represents a cultural heritage object here. So we'll go take a look at that quick. So this is the separate record that represents the physical object. We offer quite a few different metadata fields, but we don't require a ton, so it's pretty easy to catalog these in the way that you're used to at your institution. There are two media representing this object. So you can see this is the mesh face record that I just pulled up. And the second record is the photogrammetry image series that base was created from. All of the information here has been entered in by the organization. So just basic identifiers. If this media record or the media file has been uploaded to a different repository, or if it's hosted by the organization itself, you can add that information here as well, link back to there. Then there's more descriptive metadata. The object type, material, and attributes that are right here are from Getty vocabularies. When you're uploading, you're able to search those, but you can also add in your own custom terms as well. And then to scroll down a little bit more, we have object dating, location, and provenance. They haven't filled in a lot here, but locality is in Japan. I'm going to click over to look at the organization record. So here's the Yale Peabody Museum. I can see everything that they've made available publicly from this page. So they've done a lot of photogrammetry and meshes. I can look at the list of object records in just one second here. I'm going to mention vouchered because that was something that really confused me a lot when I first started working at MorphoSource. I came from a humanities background, so I didn't know what that meant, but vouchered is whether the object exists in like real life in a collection somewhere. So all of these objects that exist at the Yale Peabody, and you can go take the the catalog number and go find them there. Those are vouchered. If you took a photograph of a frog in a pond somewhere and then uploaded that to the site, that frog would not be vouchered because you can't find it. And then there's about information about the organization. And this is useful if you want to contact them because you're interested in several things from them, or if you are requesting download and you're not getting a response, you might want to see what the contact information is for this page. I'm going to go back to the media list here. And you can search the media the same way that you can in the catalog. So I'm going to look for a vase again. And narrow it down by mesh. I'll select that one. Okay, so we're back to the basic media record. The first thing I think I want to point out here is that each of the sections here that with metadata filled in have a field definitions link here. And if you click on that, that'll let you know what the different fields mean if you have any questions. General details is just going to tell you basic information about the file, what object it represents, who owns it, when the file was created and when it was uploaded to the site. Can scroll down and look at file object details. For a lot of files, these are created automatically by MorphoSource when you upload. We'll pull that information for you, so that's not something that you actually need to enter in by hand, but it depends on the media type. We scroll down, image acquisition and processing, so that just gives you the basic idea about how this file was created and the steps that were taken to do that. With the parent media and the device that was used to image that. We get to ownership and permissions. People that upload to MorphoSource have quite a bit of they can really tailor how they want their ownership and permissions fields to look. So you're allowed to do Creative Commons licenses, copyright statements. We have at the bottom here and your the ability to upload your additional usage agreement, and users are required to click and say that they have agreed to those terms before they're able to download. Um, every media on MorphoSource gets a MorphoSource ARC, but if you're interested in getting a DOI, if you're going to be publishing something, for instance, we're happy to mint those for you as well. And then we have, I won't go through all this, but we have the full, all of the information you'd ever want to know about how this file was created. So imaging details for the original photogrammetry image stack, and then how that original stack was processed to eventually create the media file that we're looking at right now, which is right here. So we'll scroll back up to the top here. You can see that this is in two collections right now, the LP Buddy Museum collection, and then also my favorite basis, which is a media list that I'll show in just a minute. It's related to one media, which is the photogrammetry image series that we've seen a few times popping up now. And then the fun part is the viewer here. Let's see. So we just upgraded our viewer on Friday, so this is super new and exciting. But if you click on the share button down here, it provides a iframe. So if you have a website where you're wanting to share this on, you can do that pretty easily. We have links to the IIIF manifest. Close that. And I'll go full screen here. There we go. The more information panel just has more metadata about the what you're viewing. So this is helpful if you are iframing this, it'll be available to other users that aren't on the MorphoSource site. I'll close that. And then for controls, you can adjust the light a little bit if you want to. Bounding box, grid, and axes. If you want to take measurements, you can do that. So I'm just going to double click there and then put a second point down at the bottom. Oh, womp womp. Let's see. Oh, there, I measured that. It's 0.01 meters. Coming soon is going to be annotations that we're working on. And let's see. Oh, changing orientation perspectives are also options. Okay. So now I've looked at this media quite a bit. I've decided it's something that I want to download and use later. I have two options. I can either download it immediately. If I click on that, it'll ask me for a little bit of more information about what I want to use this for and the who I am. I have to agree that I will abide by the agreements for using the data, and there'll usually be a MorphoSource agreement. And then also, if this particular uploader has put their own agreement up, I'll see that there too. Once I've read those terms and agreed to them, I can agree, make sure they know I'm not a robot, and then I'll be able to download the media. The other option is if I'm looking at several media and I'd rather just like keep looking at the site and then download everything together, I can add it to my cart. Um, so now it's been added to my cart. There's never a charge to download media, so even though it's a shopping cart, there's not actually any, you don't have to pay for anything. But that's in my cart now. Can go take a look at what's there. Um, so 3 items in my cart. I have 2 that are open download, and I can download those immediately. If I click uh, the box there and download selected, it'll bundle those up in a zip file, and I'll have access to those. But I also have 1 restricted item in my cart, and that's something that a user has uploaded where they want to make it available to people, but they also want a little bit more information about how that's going to be used before they grant permission. So in this case, I would need to request download, fill in how I'm going to use the media, say that I agree to all the terms, and then request download. Then that data manager will get a notification that somebody wants to download their media, and they'll be able to go in to the site, look and see, read your response about why you want that media, and then hopefully approve your request. Um, but once that's approved, then you can download everything and you'll have that locally to use however you want. Another way that we have to keep track of media that you're interested in is to use a media list. So this is just kind of like a playlist of media. You could use this for um, if you were interested in trying to put together like a lesson plan, or if you just wanted to create a list to share it with somebody else. You're able to add any media that you can see on the site into this list. Um, And these are cool because then you can toggle through the different media and just view them all from one page instead of having to go to separate media records to look at them. Um, you can also rearrange these. So if there's a particular order I wanted everything in, I can rearrange it and then save that order for later. If I want to export, I can export all of the metadata for the media that have been added to this list into a big CSV to take a look at later. Go back in and edit here. So you can fancy it up by adding a logo and a banner if you want. You can add in more information. So if this was a lesson plan, I might put in here like what the students are supposed to do with the media. You can select lesson plan there. If I want to share it with other members, I would add those people here. If I add someone as a manager, they're able to add and remove media from the list, or I can just add them as a viewer. And if you have a private media list, then they'd be able to see the list. As for the other things in the on the side here, a lot of these regular registered users aren't going to have access to until they're unless they are affiliated with someone who has contributor access. So a contributor could add them to a project or a team or an organization, and then they would have access there. But registered users aren't able to create those themselves. They would be able to view your cart, see what the status is on your requests for media. If you lost your files, you can go back and see where what your previous downloads were and re-download them again. And if you've been given access to a private media from another user, you'd be able to see that here. If you did want to have a little bit more access to MorphoSource, you can request to become a contributor. So again, we're going to want to know what kind of things you want to upload if you are affiliated with an organization, and then how much data you think that you'd be uploading to the site. So once I agree to the terms and submit my application, then that goes to the MorphoSource admins, and they'll take a look and at your application and approve, or get back to you with, for more information within a day or two. All right. I think that's all I've got for the demo. Is there anything that anybody wanted to know before I switch back to the slides for a bit?
Hey,
Uh,
Jocelyn. Just to let you know, there were a couple of questions in chat that I had tried to give a response to, but if you want to look at them, I can also bring them up. Sorry, but I think someone else was trying to come in.
Yeah. Um, yeah, well, You probably answered them really well. If there's a new question, let's maybe start there.
I had one which was you mentioned lesson plans before.
Hmm.
And just are there any sort of plans to, I mean, obviously you can use URLs and it seems like you guys have an embed feature as well, but are there any other plans about integrating um, objects in MorphoSource with like learning management systems? I'm at Bryn Mawr College and like we use Moodle, for instance. So in a perfect world, like being able to put an object on a class page would be great, even though I realize that's more of a niche concern. But I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I can see Julie adding quite a bit. So would you like to answer that one, Julie?
Oh yeah, sure. I can take a leap at it. Yeah, no, I think that that's a really good question. And I've had some other conversations with other educators, and we've worked with some. Um, this was a few years ago at this point, but we've worked with some K through 12 education groups in Florida where they were, yeah, using at that point MorphoSource projects. Now you'd be able to use media lists to construct lesson plans of objects, but that doesn't go fully, yeah, to the whole point of putting an object in like yeah, like a lesson plan management software. Yeah, and I mean I know you mentioned the embed links, but I do think actually that, when I have taught courses, I have, like in courseware for creating websites for pages, I've put embedded 3D views of things, or you can actually embed multiple objects in a single page if you wanted to have students, compare and contrast two different objects. So I think
Mhm.
the embed facility is pretty powerful there. I think for other uses, honestly, what I would say is we would really love to have more of those discussions and to learn about like what we could be doing to support those things better or to like really help educators move that stuff more quickly. So I would love to hear further ideas.
Yeah, and just to be clear, when you're talking about the embed feature, you can do that with a media list as well, right? So like
Yeah.
the view you have on the screen, I could put it on a course page just with an iframe or something like that.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question. So the answer to that specifically is no. We don't have an ability to iframe embed like collection pages. What the
Mhm.
iframe is limited to right now are the preview views. So you could go to a media, like Jocelyn was saying. Yeah, the media pages themselves do have an integrated viewer that does allow you to sort of view media while you are sort of looking at the list, and you can toggle from one to the other. Yeah,
Mhm.
Jocelyn, sorry, I'll let you jump in here.
Oh no, I'm just illustrating while you talk. But yeah, I guess just to reiterate what Julie was saying, I think we'd be really interested to get more ideas about how these pages could be integrated into, learning management software. Um,
Mhm.
but is
Thank you.
there anything else? All right, back to slides. Oh, let's see, Alice.
Hi. Yeah, so I was wondering, I'm very excited about the IIIF capabilities that you mentioned, and I'm wondering, how do you find the manifest URL? Because I tried the IIIF icon and it seemed like those links are not working. Um, but I was wondering if that's you also mentioned that there's a new presentation API and that maybe it's not set up yet, or should those links be, is that the best way to find them?
Go ahead, Julie.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so yeah, the like Jocelyn said, we just rolled out a new 3D viewer, and I do think that that has broken the IIIF manifest button, which we will get that fixed, hopefully today. But so that is the other way to do it is really kind of gnarly. You'd have to go into the iframe link and look for like the slash manifests URL. But we will get those buttons fixed. Because yeah, what we do is every preview asset that you see on MorphoSource, the 2D, the video, the 3D, those are all backed by IIIF presentation manifests, even as they are now. Like I said, if you go through that iframe link and you sort of scroll to the slash manifests, and then it's like a big hash, series of characters. That is a IIIF presentation manifest. Right now, we are producing uh, Prezi 3 manifests, which the capabilities for 3D in Prezi 3 are very limited. Pretty much you could just throw one 3D model um, on a canvas and it will display that 3D model, though many viewers don't support that, but it is in the specification. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy to say, so I am one of the editors for the IIIF specs, and we have sort of committed ourselves that by June of next year, we are going to be releasing a draft of version 4.0 for the presentation API. And that is going to have more full-featured 3D support. So when I say more full-featured, I mean you'll be able to use a IIIF manifest to put multiple models in a scene. You can place cameras, you can place lights, you can place commenting annotations, all that sort of thing. And probably before that draft is out, but certainly by the point that draft is out, we will have moved all of our manifests to Prezi 4, which basically means that at that point, anyone who's playing in that IIIF space will be able to sort of pretty easily pull in MorphoSource objects to remix them, to sort of put them in a new scene, to sort of, to do all the sorts of stuff that the IIIF tools allow you to do, but in 3D.
Thank you. That's exciting.
Yeah.
there anything else? So just to finish out a little bit, so uh, Julie just talked about IIIF Prezi 4 that we're pretty excited about coming out next year. We're also looking at adding DOIs for media lists. So if you're, for instance, doing a publication and you need a DOI for that, right now we do individual media DOIs, and instead of having to submit an entire list of those, we would basically freeze the media list, assign a DOI to it, and then you'd be good to go. Um, we're looking at more viewer enhancements, especially with the way that Sketchfab seems to be maybe going away or at least changing quite a bit. We want to bring some of the good things from the Sketchfab viewer into our viewer. So we'll be looking at annotations, like I mentioned, and then also maybe the ability to upload like keys if you're looking at wanting to describe show like the different parts of an object that you've uploaded. And then the last thing is batch uploading. Right now, we have the ability for users that are contributing from biological specimens to upload a bunch of those at one time. But we want to be able to enable that for cultural heritage organizations as well. So those of you that come on Friday, you'll see the process for uploading a media, and it can be a little bit long sometimes. So this will be a way to speed that up if you're uploading a ton. So yeah, another plug for Friday. This will be made more at people that want to upload and manage their media in MorphoSource. So we'll be talking more about that. Um, and here's some resources. The MorphoSource documentation is just a wiki about how to use the site, both as a user and someone that's uploading data. YouTube, we have some helpful videos just about using the site. The GitHub community page is for communicating maybe some development issues with us and getting announcements about changes to the site. Um, and then email, you can always email us if you have any questions or need help with anything. But I'll include all of these links in the follow-up email. And that's it. I guess I'm open for more questions or any kind of discussion that folks want to have. All right. Well, if there's not anything else, I'm so glad that you guys could join us today, and I hope everybody has a good rest of their day.
Um, before you log off, one question I had about like LMS stuff. What would be the best way to like just share thoughts on that? Just email you guys.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Yeah.
Cool. And thank you guys again for organizing this. This is really cool.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jocelyn, for giving the webinar.
I'm pretty excited about it and getting more cultural heritage stuff in. So, yeah.
Yeah, and it looks like we have a real question in the chat. Yeah, and thanks everybody for giving us your time. Yeah, there was a question: is there a way to manipulate meshes in the viewer? Say you have an anatomical model, could you take it apart and put it back together? From Thomas Murphy, which I think is a really interesting question. I will say the focus on the viewer has been on preview, so sort of, just being able to see the object, and secondarily to do measurements and to place annotations on the viewer. So you can do ruler length measurements, you can do angle measurements, you can do screen space measurements. So if you just want to like put a ruler on your screen basically and see how large the object is, and you can put label annotations. We've not really sort of opened up the viewer to the idea of sort of being an editing environment for things, only because that just, greatly expands the complexity in some regards. But it's an interesting idea, and it's interesting, even being able to have like a model on a track where you could play animations or do, I don't know, it's interesting, but we haven't gone there yet thus far.
All right. Looks like that might be everything. So, well, thank you again, everybody. Looking forward to seeing some of you on Friday again. But have a good week.
Thank you. Bye bye.